Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of the Coffee Roaster Warm-Up Sessions podcast. It's been super exciting to get on Instagram, and of course, this is the season for Spotify Wrapped, which is I kind of hate it because everybody's doing it, but at the same time, it's such a cultural phenomenon where I'm tempted to just post mine, but I haven't posted mine
I've not
yet.
posted mine. I won't post mine.
But I feel like I need to because it's such a cultural phenomenon.
No. I mean, half of everyone's Spotify Wrapped is Taylor Swift and Drake.
That's valid. Drake, I think, appeared on my fifth artist, number 5.
I'm gonna keep all of my personal music preferences to myself.
Dude,
I have nothing to hype up.
At least give us one artist in your top 5.
I always have one
artist.
in the top. Laney is always up in my top 5. I'm not gonna say where Laney is this year.
Okay,
it's the same.
Wow. Okay. Well, it was exciting to see so many of you guys all of a sudden randomly starting tagging me or that we're coming up in your top 3, even your top. Somebody tagged us who is in the top 0.5% of mere listeners, which is absolutely incredible. So cheers to that. But that's been fun to see that. I don't know, it just felt surreal. It's like you do it for all your favorite artists, not even realizing that you just came up on somebody's Spotify Wrapped. It's just
my most listened to podcast. I mean, you could probably guess
what
it was Mirror.
I don't listen to podcasts on Spotify. So I listen to podcasts on either YouTube or Apple Podcasts.
Same. Yeah.
So
Apple Podcast,
I don't get a Wrapped.
The only other podcast I listen to outside of Spotify and Apple on YouTube, that is Bobby, and that's Alf whatever, Bobby.
Yeah.
That's it.
Where do you listen to that on?
I mean, is there any other place to stream it but YouTube? I thought it was only on YouTube.
I don't know. I've just seen clips.
Yeah, that's all.
So, yeah. So thank you so much for listening. I'm just waiting for the day that we win a Sprudgie for the best coffee podcast. Please. But yeah, let's dive into this episode. Let's pour some Batchy. See what we're brewing up here, as always.
Wow, that was a big wave. I don't know. Did I do something wrong? Was this my bad? It's fine, but it's not like an amazing brew for sure.
Yeah. It's fine, but it's not fine. Unfortunately.
This coffee is also super, super fresh. 2 days off roast?
Yeah. That's probably why also.
It tastes metallic.
It tastes, it has that really fresh, like it's almost overwhelming the cup taste. But we also ran out of cone-shaped brew filters, and I was going to go get some. Totally forgot. So we had to makeshift a classic normal-sized batch brew filter into the cone.
It looked good. I was kind of sold on it for a minute. I was like, dude, this is going to slap. I was hoping for a better brew. I also went super fine. I went 11.
Oh.
But that's because it was a 40-gram dose, 640.
That's what we always do.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought we do 550 to 800.
No.
40?
We always do 40, yeah.
Man, what do I know? How many episodes in and I still don't remember a recipe?
Dude, it's always changing.
Always. Well,
it's a bummer.
That's fun. Not fun.
I still think it has that this mouth-watering acidity, which I think is coming from the fact that it's a bourbon. It's just like the classic acidity that I absolutely love. I just can't get over. I think other than, not counting like Cedras, Geishas, give me a bourbon that's like really nicely developed, balances out, that super punchy acidity with some nice sweetness. Yeah. And dude, sign me up. I mean, I'm sold on it.
Always. I mean, bourbon is a stem from a geisha, right? As far as I remember.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah. Could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
It's always been one of my major favorite varietals in coffee. Like, it just sticks out. I mean, we did a cupping before this.
Yeah.
And I automatically called the coffee yellow bourbon, but it was a pink bourbon. Yeah. It just sticks out. Like, I know it is what it is. And yeah. I love the varietal in general. But also, I think this coffee, when I smelled it, like right before we started recording, like all I got on the nose was honeysuckle and wildflowers. Like nice, almost like a clover honey. Like a lot of that. It was super tasty.
Yeah, it's very nice. It's very nice. I've been really digging this coffee, the way it's everything from the way it's cupping to when we purchased the coffee. We've also picked up this coffee from some other roasters, just kind of taste what it's been tasting like, and it's phenomenal. Like, I love this. Like a Colombian, it's semi-washed, I think, almost like an anaerobic washed, Colombian pink bourbon, all the good stuff. I mean, this week, starting with today, I think, hopefully, actually, starting with this weekend, we'll be dropping 3 new coffees. 3 new coffees sounds like a lot, but 3 new coffees. All 3 new coffees are tasting really nice and excellent. Give us a rundown of what we're getting here.
Definitely by popular demand, one of our most famous coffees for sure, from Jorge Mendez up in Huehuetenango. I mean, of course, we have to secure it again. It's just 100%. Been such a pleasure. One, it roasts great. We've consistently had high quality Jorge Mendez's coffees that sit on our menu almost like we have a Guatemalan coffee that sits on our menu all year. Yeah. So that doesn't go away. That has been our staple. It's fun for everyone. It's fun for people. It's fun for us to drink. Our relationship with Jorge has deepened a lot, especially since your last visit and you connecting with him. We're still waiting on that video drop.
I know it's coming. It's coming this year. Literally, this year. Not this year. It's the video's coming with this drop of the coffee. So we're gonna push actually this guat probably till next week.
Okay, good.
Next week, good. But that's literally all of next week is what I'm gonna be working on. So that's gonna drop. But going back to the coffee, I think this is Jorge Mendez is probably one of the best harvests that he's had since we've been partnering with him over the last 3 years. Yeah, just sparkly acidity, roasts nice, even when we've been pushing it kind of on the lighter side. But man, it stands its own. Very nice, bright, crispy, juicy. I mean, it hits all the boxes for me. I love it.
And it still has the reminiscence of what Guatemalan coffee should taste like. So it's comforting, it's warm, it's a bigger coffee. Like, again, we say this so much on the podcast, but this is the type of coffee that you impress your grandparents, parents, maybe, and your coffee nerd friends.
100%.
It's a coffee that's going to go everywhere, anywhere, any way possible.
And we'll talk about this later in the podcast, but man, espresso, check the boxes. Filter, check the boxes. You know, batch brewer, check the boxes. This will probably slap on French press. I don't know. AeroPress be a ripper. Like, I love it. And, you know.
What about next level brewer?
Next level brewer. Dude, I don't know.
Next level Jorge Mendez.
I don't know. We need to pick one up. So, so that's the Jorge Mendez is just a staple. You can expect it to be around for some time, and probably we'll pick it up next year. So what else do we have?
We have a new Ethiopian coffee. Remind me, what's the name? Agaro. Who's the producer again?
It's a little cooperative, I think, called Duramina.
Yeah, this is a newer coffee for us. We've never bought coffee from Agaro. We've had multiple Ethiopians, but this coffee is fairly new. What I remember about this coffee, again, it's a classic Ethiopian coffee. It has a very good bright acidity. It has a lot of that sweetness on it, but not the classic sweetness that you would get on a natural, because it's not. It's a wash coffee. So you have delicacies on it. You have acidity on it, and you have that balance and aftertaste that it just lingers forever in your mouth.
If you're looking for blueberry, fruit punchy Kool-Aid, this is not the coffee. Don't get this.
That's not the classic I'm talking about at all. This is not a natural Guji. Like, that's not it. But it has the delicacies of Ethiopian coffees that I've grown to like, oh, that's a lot of what I remember about an Ethiopian coffee. It's either the blueberry or those florals. This one has the florals, but it also has like totally great acidity. Like, if you like a lively, bright or acidity in your coffee and you want that delicate body, again, we talked about these terms like tea-like. I'm not using tea-like in a sense that it's a flat coffee or it's thin. It just has those flavors, a lot of it.
Flavor notes on it, we're getting grapefruit, oolong tea, and floral.
There it is.
That should speak for itself. You should know what you're getting yourself into. Last but not least, actually, we should have probably started with this. Yeah. But this is the coffee we're drinking right now. Colombia, Huela, washed or semi-washed, anaerobic, pink bourbon. Thoughts?
I remember cupping this coffee when we chose it. Like, it was absolutely, I mean, one, we were gonna, I might not get into there. That's too distracting.
What are the most iconic things that come to mind when you think about this coffee from cuppings? Or
it's just absolutely punchy. It's big. It's a punchy coffee. It has a lot of flavor to it. Out of the three coffees we've talked about right now, it's probably, in my opinion, the punchiest coffee that we're dropping. And I really like that about it, because it's also not a natural. You think punchy and you're thinking like this booziness. That's not the type of punchy it is. It's just a lot of flavor. And I'm not going to name drop, but we've had some of our friends cup it, drink it, brew it on espresso, and they've always hyped it up. So that's why this coffee is it's a big deal for me. I think not going to choose our, favorite child, but 100%. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah. I think it's vibrant. Again, pink bourbon comes in with some really good punch to it. It's juicy. It's complex. It's, it's just, what comes to mind the most thing is just vibrant.
Yeah.
A lot of those flavor notes are just saturated, rich. I love it. I think this is going to be the ripper of our, next month that we have of all of our coffees. If you want something that's really stand out, I think that's the option. Not that the other ones are not good. They just come with different characteristics. So
exactly.
Summarize as we go into, December, holidays, the new year, knowing our menu, how would you describe our menu coming in?
One, I would say buy the box. I was talking to Ward about this, and, Ward has been one of the people who have bought a box for his parents every single year for Christmas. And today he told me he's going to steal a bag out of that box so he can keep one. Incredible. And give. I'm like, Ward, are you really going to give your parents a half-quarter empty box? Like, just give them the dang thing and buy another bag. But, that's also a lot to say, the fact that the box is pretty diverse. So there's a lot of flavors for everyone at the table. So if you're going to either gift this to someone, you're gonna give people a good time. And then also, if you're going to bring this somewhere, you're also can set up the Jorge Mendes on the table. You have that nice classic coffee that you want, stash away the agaro, put it away somewhere, hide it, maybe brew it in the bathroom. I don't know. Don't tell so anyone. Put it in your flask, and you're like, this Jorge slams, but it's not. That's the coffee that is the agaro, and then you have just the Colombia too.
Yeah.
Pull out at the end of the night. It's like the wine is getting a little stronger through the night, so this coffee is getting a little better through the night. And then the people that have already drank enough caffeine that are like, dude, I'm tapped out, you throw in the Bader decaf. But for the people that are like, man, what you got, you pull out that Huela, and you straight up on espresso at probably 8 p.m. right with whatever pie you're munching on, or your creme brulee or whatever it is, slam it away. So that's kind of my descriptor of the menu for the holiday season.
Give us 2 words. How would you describe the menu all together?
Oh, wow. 2 words? I can give you 3. It's definitely timeless. It's definitely modern. And it's definitely eternal.
Come on, give us something that people get.
Oh man, I'm throwing out Easter eggs.
I know.
No, gosh. Oh man. I would say our menu is, that's cheesy. I was going to say it's colorful. And that's simply because when we have recently cupped coffees, I've seen a lot of our coffees in color. They're bright. They're I think of grapefruit and that kind of liveliness of a coffee. But again, going back to like our Guatemalan coffee is nice green apple and like pear, like that kind of flavor on it as well. So I see it as our menu is very colorful. That would be one major word I'd sum it up as.
Right on. Groovy. Well, friends, go get yourself a box.
Yes.
Especially for the holidays. Get all your roommates, your family members, your uncle. Get them caffeinated with some good juice.
Exactly.
This is a really solid box. I think diverse, and I think it's vibrant, airy, just very nice. I'm a huge fan. So this should be a next fun next month. But yeah, that all being said, something that came up in conversation the other day was about roasting, filter roast, espresso roast, omni roast. And we may or may not have covered this in a previous podcast. To be honest, I don't know.
Yeah.
And we have always, from the beginning, have kind of leaned towards kind of like a one roast for each coffee. And there's some plus sides, some downsides to that. There's some plus sides and downsides to that, because sometimes you do want to go a little lighter for something more filtery. You do want to make things a little easier for espresso, and sometimes we'll go with like a lighter profile that's kind of pushing on the lightness, which that coffee might have tasted slightly better if it was on espresso, specifically. But we usually have just been going for one roast, which I also think there's we try to ride the line of, hey, our coffees can be tasty both on espresso and on filter. You don't have to choose between the two. If you're getting a coffee, it's going to be just well-rounded and good. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. And to bring clarity to that word, like omni roast is actually a very simple word, just means one roast.
Right.
So we just roast the coffee. We are not roasting it with quote unquote any brew method in mind. We're just wanting to make sure the coffee tastes as good as we can get it via quality control through cupping.
So the coffees can taste good both on espresso and on filter.
That's what I was going to dive into is like, so if this coffee is tasty based on our cuppings, based on how we roasted it, that one single roast, now the question is, how would you prefer to extract this coffee? So you can extract it any way. And now the dynamic of the flavors that you're going to experience through your extraction method is going to reveal bigger and different characteristics. But is the coffee extractable anyway? Yeah, it's going to extract well on French press. It's going to extract excellent on, espresso, but it will require some work. Like, especially if you're used to maybe only dialing in blends, you do have to consider the solubility of the coffee and your recipe to make it tasty. And I think that's one of the major intimidating factors about omni roasting, is because folks are like, oh, like, will I be able to make this coffee taste good? And how do I do that? And those are the big questions that come up when there's no label that says for espresso. In the cafe, I still get the same question over and over time. Which one of these coffees do you use for espresso? And when I say all of them, people kind of are like, wait, what does that even mean? Because they think there's a certain bean, there's a certain varietal of coffee that's only made for espresso. But espresso, again, is just a brew method, right? So, okay, I'm talking too long. Pitch in. What do you got?
No, that's great. I think what comes to mind also is nothing against having different roasts for even just one single coffee, and that may be something we do in the future. But I also think there is some communication benefits for the consumer, but also I do think that some of it's also kind of a marketing thing.
Totally.
To a certain extent, because if you're doing a filter roast, I get it. You're going to go lighter. You're gonna modulate some of those flavors a little differently. However, it is kind of marketing, because chances are, if you label a coffee filter, people who want a filter, it's gonna make their decision making a little quicker. Like if you're just like, personally for me, my drinking habits, I would prefer a filter over espresso any day. Not that I hate espresso, I just really like filters. When I go on a site, to buy some coffee, and I see espresso roast, I'm probably going to steer clear of that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go straight for the filter.
Yeah.
Even though, sometimes actually espresso roasts taste better on filter than the filter roast. That happens a lot. But I guess where I'm getting that is like, there is some marketing action going on here. And it does skew people's perception a little bit. You think that the filter roast would taste better on filter all the time.
Right.
I don't know.
I mean, also to clarify, I did say like, when you say espresso, we're just talking about a brew method. That's partially true. Espresso is a beverage, like you mentioned. Like you lean towards a beverage still made out of coffee, still has a little pressure, not the same 9 bars of pressure in classic espresso, but you still have like gravity pressure in brewing a filter. But the whole beverage, the filter beverage, is much different than the espresso beverage. And when it comes to those things, of course, when you see a coffee that was labeled as espresso, I mean, one of the first things that comes to my mind is like, we're talking about solubility levels. But that could be because I work in coffee, right? I automatically assume this coffee is more soluble. Therefore, what we talked about in previous episodes, it could potentially be a quote unquote darker roast, potentially. Like these are all very loose terms, but that's kind of how my mind processes it. But then again, of course, I'm different than you. I prefer espresso over filter. So I'm automatically, I guess I'm a walking contradiction because I love filters so much. But at the end of the day, I'm not intimidated by taking a filter coffee and throwing in and doing espresso.
And a lot of people do that.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. And none of the espresso I have at home is for espresso. It's all just regular roasted, omni roasted coffees that I'm, brewing.
Right. Yeah. I think, what do you, if you're looking for a coffee that's, you're like, man, I want to get something that I'm going to be brewing mostly espresso with. You're going to maybe throw some milk in there occasionally. What are you looking for on a bag? Or what's the information that you're looking out for that may not be just espresso and filter?
Yeah.
Just as your personal preference, that might help some people kind of gauge what they should be looking at.
Again, especially if you're talking about adding milk to it, I probably won't choose a coffee with milk that has a ton of acidity. And especially delicate flavors on bags, I'm looking to do those on filter. And again, I drink espresso black. I'm just drinking a shot of espresso. And sometimes coffees with delicacies punch so hard on espresso that you're getting more of the intensity of, let's say, the florals, than you would on a filter. But most likely I'm not adding milk to that. As cheesy as it sounds, like at the end of the day, I'm probably either picking up a Colombian coffee for milk or a Guatemalan coffee. That's kind of what I do. Again, not to bring up our coffees again, but Jorge Mendes is just a very easy, like when I'm brewing on the Breville at home, I reach for the Jorge Mendes. If we have that, I'm doing that. This morning, we didn't have it. What did I take? The Jorge Rojas. I still had some old coffee from LOL. Yeah. Old coffee from October that I just threw in and I'm like, sick, still slaps, Dude,
that's an exceptional coffee. Yeah. Actually, I missed that coffee. That was nice. Well, speaking of our coffee, as we wrap it up and laying this plane, tell us, if you're brewing filter, you can only choose one coffee out of the 3 that we mentioned. And if you're brewing espresso, you're choosing one coffee out of the 3 that we mentioned. What are you going with? What's your first draft pick right here?
Again, maybe I'm a walking contradiction. Filter, I'm grabbing the Agaro, maybe because I've been brewing on filter last few days. Espresso. All right, y'all. You know what I'm gonna say. Jorge Mendes.
Dude, you're not picking up the Colombia?
I know. That's what I said. I just hyped the Colombia up so much, but it's like the Colombian coffee is the Huila is very adventurous. It's very adventurous. It's almost like I love it. I love it. No shade.
Dang. That's rough. That's rough.
What are you grabbing?
Dude, I'm so on this Huila train. I've been waiting for us to drop it so I can start drinking it. I've just been waiting. I'm like, can we just drop it? Not even for people. Like, I just want to start drinking it. So I think I'm gonna have to pull it a couple times on the Breville and pull it and just drink it both filter and espresso. Forget it.
One coffee, all methods.
I'll probably get bored of it in a couple weeks, but for now I'm just gonna ride this train out. So
do it to it.
All right.
More props to you.
Any final words?
Good coffees. Drink good coffee. Reflect what's good.
There you have it, folks. That's a wrap.